This lesson is styling your pages with CSS. In this lesson, you'll learn how to create and manage styles in Dreamweaver CC. Specifically, you will explore the CSS Designer panel, a new visual interface making it easier and more intuitive for you to work with styles. Now, it's very hard to target all audiences in this particular lesson. You might be used to working with CSS in other applications, or you might have a very strong background in CSS. So really, the goal here is to help you navigate these features. We really can't teach you everything there is to know about CSS. That's what the book is for. However, for now, let's just take a look at the CSS Designer and using it to create and modify styles. Now, I've already created a new Dreamweaver site for my DW04 lesson files and have opened events.html. This file contains a few styles that we can use to explore the CSS Designer panel. First, let's collapse the Files panel by double-clicking upon Files. This will give us more room to work with the CSS Designer. The CSS Designer is comprised of 4 panes: Sources, Media, Selectors, and Properties. The Sources pane lists all of the locations where CSS styles are defined for this file. The Style entry tells us the current rules are in an embedded style sheet located within the Style element of this document. You can also have styles located in external style sheets, which are files including style sheet rules and saved with a .css extension. The Media pane lists any media queries used to define alternate styles for different media such as screen or print, or for tablet or mobile devices. The Selectors pane lists any CSS selectors, also called styles or rules, that are defined in the selected source. The Properties pane is where you can view or set properties for the chosen selector, such as the font family, color, or size. There are 5 buttons in the Properties pane navigation bar that allow you to filter the properties by categories such as layout, text, border, background, or others. Here we can see that the embedded style sheet style in the Sources pane has a few selectors for H1, paragraph, and unordered lists. Clicking on the H1 selector allows me to see any properties that are set in the Properties panel. To see only the properties that are set, I can click the Show Set checkbox. Doing so shows me that the H1 headings have the color set to a light green and the font family set to Gill Sans. Clearing the Show Set checkbox will allow me to see any of the other properties that I can set. Clicking Layout allows me to see properties such as the width and height, the new margin control for setting the margins on top, bottom, left, and right, the new padding control, and the new position control. Clicking the Text button allows me to see the various text properties including color and font family, in addition to style, variant, weight, size, and additional properties such as text transform, letter spacing, and vertical align. Clicking the Border button allows me to see the various border properties, including border collapse, spacing, and the border color, width, and style settings for top, bottom, and left and right borders. The Background button lets me view the various background properties, including background color, and properties for the background image, including URL and gradient, along with background position, size, repeat, and so forth. Clicking on the Paragraph selector and clicking the Show Set checkbox allows me to see that the color for my paragraphs is set to a gray and the font size is 14 pixels. Looking at the design view of the document, I can see that all of my paragraphs are formatted with that gray color. However, the unordered list is displaying with a green color. Let's click the Unordered List selector and change the color from that unordered list from 030 to the 666 that was set for our paragraph. This change shows up in the design view now, and our paragraphs and our unordered lists are styled using the same color. Next, we'll create a new style rule for our H2 headings. First, we'll highlight Spring Events, and you notice in the Property Inspector that it is a Heading 2 heading. Going to CSS Designer, we'll click on Style to tell Dreamweaver that we want to add this rule to the current embedded style sheet. We'll click on the Add Selector button, or the plus sign on the Selectors menu, and Dreamweaver will populate that with a compound rule, body H2. Dreamweaver is being a little too specific here, and we can clean up the rule by making it apply only to our H2 selectors. After changing the selector to H2, press Enter or Return. We'll clear the Show Set checkbox, and let's click the Text button to view the text properties. Locate the font size property and click on the keyword Medium. Choose PT or Point from the pop-up menu. Type 18 for the size and press Enter or Return. Locate the color property, click on Undefined and type the value #390 and press Enter or Return. This will set the text to a darker shade of green. We have just styled the font size and color of the H2 heading tag, and at this point all text formatted as H2 items will appear this way. To demonstrate this effect, let's select Rent Our Facility, and making sure that we're in the HTML properties in the Properties Inspector, choose Heading 2 from the Format dropdown. Clicking anywhere in the background, we can see that Rent Our Facility is now styled as an H2 level element with the same font size and color that we specified for our H2 rule. For those more comfortable with CSS, you can also use the Code Navigator. The Code Navigator displays as a ship's wheel icon. Clicking on the Code Navigator will show me the style rules that are applied to the selected text. In this case, we see our H2 rule. Mousing over the H2 shows the font size is set to 18 points and the color is set to 390. Clicking on the H2 rule will take us to the style rule declaration inside of our style sheet. Again, this is an embedded style sheet within the current document, so it shows up in a block of style tags in the heading of our document, where we can see lines 21 through 24 define our H2 heading rule. So to recap, we explored the new CSS Designer panel, created and modified styles, and looked at the Code Navigator. This should provide you with an introduction to using styles within Dreamweaver. This lesson has been Styling Your Pages with CSS.